Hi everyone, this is Mike with episode 72 of Getting Everyone Moving, brought to you by Palms of Pines Parasports. Today we have Jeremy Opie Lade. Hey Jeremy.
Hey Mike, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Hey, let's start with, how did you get your nickname?
Yeah, I think of all my interviews I've done over the years, it usually starts with "Why are you Opie?" Which is good. It kind of brings back to like the start of my wheelchair athletics, endeavors. They actually started a camp here at UW-Whitewater back in 1993. It was an adaptive sports camp. Mike Frogley got things underway at that time, and when I came to that camp, must have been, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years old, somewhere around there, and I looked like Opie from the Andy Griffith Show. Redheaded kid, and I've been Opie to everyone for as long as I can remember. So even my business card has got to say Opie on it because I don't think very many people know my real name is Jeremy.
That's a wonderful story. A good way to start. So you got started when you were 10 or 11. Why did you get involved with adaptive sports?
Well, I was in a car accident when I was 8 years old. Before that car accident, I grew up in northern Wisconsin, small town. My dad and brother and everything that we did kind of revolved around sports and motorsports and being active. After the car accident and using my wheelchair to get around, I was still staying active with my friends, but having a hard time keeping up, obviously, when you're in a wheelchair, pushing through the grass and hanging with some kids that are running around. When I found out about the opportunity to compete against other individuals that were in a similar situation, similar ability level as myself, I certainly took advantage of that opportunity. And then finding out that there's a bunch of other people out there that had similar challenges and still trying to succeed in athletics, in academics, in life, I just gravitated towards that world pretty quickly as soon as I got the opportunity to participate.
So did you, when right after the accident, did you feel some depression or did you just say, okay, this is where I'm at and I'm going to move forward with this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was everything just seemed like the world was spinning out of control a little bit. After the accident, you got to learn how to get dressed, you got to learn how to live life, and then you kind of couple that with learning how to get around and still be able to do all the things that you're still passionate about doing. I'm very thankful for my parents and my brother who kind of didn't really give me an opportunity to feel sorry for myself. It was a matter of, listen, if you're passionate about getting on a four-wheeler, find a way to get on a four-wheeler, which my dad was great about. He wasn't babying me because I had a disability. We found a way to hook up a shifter on a four-wheeler, and it was a hand shifter. And even as a kid, I was finding ways to stay active. And that was playing basketball and playing baseball and whatever it was. So very thankful for all the people that were around me when I went through that difficult time.
Well, was it difficult for you to find opportunities to participate then? Did you have to drive far distances?
Yeah, I think to find the opportunity, it wasn't as difficult once you knew it existed. At that point, I grew up in a small town. The only individuals around that were in wheelchairs were people that were in nursing homes. So there wasn't any kids, there wasn't any, even adults that were living more of an active lifestyle that had a disability. Once I got kind of immersed in the adaptive athletics world, you start finding about different sports and different opportunities and different leagues and different levels of competition that you can get involved in. So I think once you kind of get that door open, it's like the floodgates open, and whatever you're interested in, you got an opportunity to stay involved in.
So in 93, you had your accident?
93 is when I went to camp. I was in the accident in 89. Yeah.
Okay. So did you immediately then join a wheelchair basketball team in 93? And what was the NWBA like? Where did you have to travel to go to play other teams?
Yeah, I didn't join a team right away. My priorities were getting a camp. Joining a team had some logistical challenges. It was over an hour to get to practices, which, we grew up in a small town. That seemed like just wild conversation when you're talking to my parents about having to do some of that stuff. And they had jobs and my brother had sports, and it wasn't the most accessible thing to be able to do. And they didn't know if something that I was passionate about doing. In terms of the NWBA from an organizational standpoint or how it was run, I guess I didn't look at it from that standpoint. Once I got involved, I just went out and picked up a basketball and got to hang out with a bunch of people doing the same thing that I was doing. So as far as I could tell, the NWBA was awesome.
Okay. So you continued on this adaptive sports path. Did you play other sports at all, or was it just basketball?
Yeah, I've always been into sports. Played softball. I played wheelchair football. Actually, just signed up for wheelchair lacrosse, so I'm excited about trying some wheelchair lacrosse. I did some road racing. Played a little bit of tennis. But it's like anybody, you kind of gravitate towards where your passion is. I've always been passionate about basketball.
So you ended up attending Whitewater, Wisconsin Whitewater. You've been there for many years. I mean, what is it about the school? What did you consider, like University of Illinois or Alabama or?
Yeah, I looked at other schools. To me, I think the fact that UW-Whitewater is what got me started in wheelchair athletics obviously has got a pretty good foundation here. But when you look at the culture that is around adaptive sports at UW-Whitewater, I think that's what I fell in love with the most. When you talk about being an athlete on the wheelchair basketball team here on campus, it's really cool because the athlete part of that is seen first, which to me was really important. I worked really hard to be a successful basketball player, and I'm very competitive. It's about wins and losses to me, not about rehab or overcoming disability or any of that stuff. It was about wins and losses, and the culture on this campus is supportive of that. People want to ask if we've won or lost a game, not give us a pat on the back because we played the game. We're playing at a collegiate level and very competitive. And the culture surrounding the program and the culture surrounding the university, the way we were treated as individuals with disabilities, and the fact that on our campus, a disability isn't the first thing that you see. I think that's very intriguing environment and culture to be in.
So let's talk a little bit about collegiate adaptive athletics, because there are still not that many schools that are offering programs. I mean, I was very fortunate to spend a season at the University of Arizona. Great culture, Tucson, so much is going on there. How do you create this kind of culture, and how do we get more collegiate level, adaptive athletics?
I guess the first part, kind of creating culture, I think is dependent on the personnel and the people you put around the program. I know one of the main focuses that we have with wheelchair athletics here at UW-Whitewater is our disability awareness presentations. So not only are we trying to compete in wheelchair athletics, but we're really trying to raise the awareness. So we offer presentations to any class that wants it. We give them an opportunity to try wheelchair basketball. We show them what it's all about. And we've done tens of thousands of presentations over the years to students on campus, which spread out to the community all across the state and all across the country. And then we do the same thing we bring our presentations to elementary, middle, and high schools. And really, we try to break down the stereotypes that are associated with having a disability. So it spreads from in wheelchair basketball to our students on campus, to our administration, to our state, and to, as far as we can reach with those presentations. So I think kind of building that culture is more than just playing the sport. It's about passing on some of that knowledge and some of the experiences that we've been fortunate enough to experience through wheelchair athletics and adaptive athletics. And what was your second part? Sorry, I missed the second part.
No problem. So, I mean, how do we create, programs at more universities throughout the United States?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and one that's I've been passionate about. I want as many opportunities for individuals with disabilities as we possibly can. One thing that I've always, would have liked to know more about is, of all these kids that are graduating high school that have a disability, how many of those kids' needs are not being met by the amount of universities or the amount of universities that offer adaptive athletics? I think percentage-wise, right? You look at high school, and if you don't have a disability, what percentage of those kids are going to universities? And then of that percentage, what percentage of those kids are actually playing in athletics at those universities? Because the commitment level that it takes is ultimately so far above and beyond what you experience at a high school level or at a junior level. You're talking about practicing 5-6 days a week, strength and conditioning, and it might not be the right fit for every student that's coming out that's playing wheelchair basketball. So, would it be great to have more growth in the collegiate division? Absolutely. But at the same time, I'd like to see some really strong programs that aren't here for a couple of years and then don't have enough numbers. So, it would be great to have more programs. I just want to make sure that it's a sustainable idea.
But it's even, it goes to the level of even having intramural sports available, because, even for the able-bodied student who is not going to be, a professional athlete, I mean, there's a multitude of opportunities. So, how does that happen though? How do you create club teams? What do you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it goes back to our disability awareness presentation conversation that we have. So everything kind of started here with us doing those disability awareness presentations, and kids got an opportunity to come in, find out about our athletes, find out about their disability, some of the challenges that they face. And then we have a bunch of wheelchairs. They get to play, run up and down. And then the conversation started to say, hey, this is really cool. This is a lot of fun. Like, when can I do this more? And then we eventually connected with our club sports people, and now we offer intramural wheelchair basketball. Anybody on our campus that isn't a varsity level athlete signs up and plays wheelchair basketball. So if we can start creating that culture where more people know about adaptive athletics, and not only adaptive athletics for individuals that have a disability, but we should be given an opportunity for everyone to try the sport, to grow the knowledge base about what we're doing, about what the sport can do, and really open as many opportunities as we possibly can through adaptive athletics.
Now, one of the things that I've seen a lot of and that I've been involved with is, we let siblings participate. I'm coaching some archery. And so we have, siblings participate, or, in the wheelchair basketball. How does that help to, I guess, create more inclusion, create more awareness?
Yeah, I think the more knowledge we just kind of give about the sport, my take, and then I know it's kind of a hot topic right now, whether able-bodied individuals should be allowed to play wheelchair basketball or not. My take on the sport, you've heard me talk about, I play for wins and losses. To me, let's get 5 people on the court, let's play for a W, and classification kind of evens everything out. But my take on it is, when you go to play football, you grab a football, you grab some pads, and you're going to play football. You go play tennis, you grab a tennis racket, some tennis balls, you go play. When you play wheelchair basketball, you grab a wheelchair, you grab a basketball, you go hoop it up. To me, I look at the wheelchair as not as this rehab or adaptive piece of equipment. I look at it as a piece of sporting equipment. So the classification kind of evens some things out. So again, kind of spreading the not only knowledge about wheelchair basketball, but the interest level of wheelchair basketball. I think the more people that get to try it, the more fans you get of the sport. So you talk about having some publicity, some TV access. The more people that have tried this and understand how cool it is and understand how difficult it is and the amount of skill that it takes to be good at it, I think we're starting to open some doors of publicity and getting more people involved and having more teams and more funding sources.
So the adaptive sports days that you do at schools, has that helped to create any kind of after school adaptive sport activities? Are the PE coaches, are they offering adaptive sports as part of their regular curriculum?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have a couple of really good examples. Steve Wilson, who coached here for a year, he's now coaching actually my wheelchair Bucks team that I'm on. He's a PE teacher and does a section on wheelchair basketball. A bunch of PE teachers that have been through our programming, they always contact us about using some wheelchairs for a session within their physical education. Jake Counts and Ian Lynch and Jamie Mazzi are graduates and alum of our wheelchair basketball program. They're down in Cincinnati doing some awesome after-school programming that includes adaptive sports. So, talking about opportunities, creating opportunities, these guys came to the university, got their degree, and went on to do their own thing in Cincinnati and are really spreading the word. These PE teachers that got an opportunity to try wheelchair basketball probably never had an experience with athletes with a disability, but because they came to Whitewater, because we offered that as a presentation, this thing's really kind of snowballing into reaching as many people as we possibly can.
So you're an elite athlete. You've been in the Paralympics. Can you kind of describe your training regimen to get to be an elite athlete?
Yeah, absolutely. At my peak was kind of trying out for the team when I was going to school here. So be up in the morning. Our practices start at 6:30. I was here before 6 to get some shots up before practice. We run 6:30 to 8:30. I would usually schedule my classes after that. So get a shower, get a class or two in, be back in for my lift midday. Usually grab something to eat after my lift. And then every day we have an open gym session. I'd be in the gym from 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 for a scrimmage against as many athletes that would show up. So, on any given day, I was 6 hours, 7 hours a day, kind of in the gym, whether it's lifting weights, conditioning, getting some shots up, whatever it might be. So in terms of being an elite athlete, I tell people it's a full-time job.
Yeah, and the point is, it's no different from being an able-bodied athlete, right? If you want to be at the elite level.
That's exactly right. It's everything that you got. I was a full-time athlete. I was a full-time student. So, ultimately working two full-time jobs to be able to compete and stay in school and do all that stuff at the same time.
So not sleeping too much, then it sounds like.
Well, I tried to get as much sleep as I could, but to say that I was living that normal social life of a college kid would not be accurate. If I had free time, it was either in the gym or doing homework for the most part.
Yeah. So you've been a really successful coach with the Warhawks. You've won a number of national championships. Can you kind of describe that feeling, and how does it compare to being in the Paralympics on the world stage?
I think the Paralympics was individual challenges for myself to ultimately prove that I could do it, to get at the highest level of wheelchair basketball that I could. I remember training, and when things got tired, you think back to when you're in the car accident, and different things that happened in your life, times that people said you couldn't do things, or the adversity that you had faced. And I think kind of reaching the Paralympics as an individual was those moments to be like, yeah, they told me I couldn't do it, but this is me getting it done. And I talked about being competitive too. When you're competitive, you want to get to the highest level of competition. So when you get there, that's as high as it can get. From a coaching standpoint, it was awesome to win championships. It really was. But the coolest thing for me is I look back at some of the awesome stories of the athletes that came through our program and that I'm still connected with today, 12 years later, whatever it might be. And they're telling me how, the way we run practice, the way I ran things in the culture that we tried to create, not only myself, but the coaches before me and what we do on campus, we're really not, the process of winning in a sporting event is ultimately the process of winning in life. You got to be on time. You got to work hard. You got to be able to work with other people. So when I look at winning those championships, it was really a byproduct of teaching people how to be successful in life. So I think, winning those championships was really cool, but the journey of getting there, the journey of teaching some young athletes, some young adults, what it was going to take to be successful beyond those wheelchair basketball years, I think is the really coolest thing for me from a coaching standpoint.
Yeah, and it's, I had read an interview that you did, and it is all about life lessons that you learn from sport. I mean, that's, if you don't play sport, you don't get those life lessons. Can you talk about some of the athletes that you had the privilege of coaching, and, they're working now, right? I mean, they have homes, they're married, whatever. Can you give us just tell us some stories about some of those athletes?
Yeah, absolutely. Early on, I got an opportunity to meet one of my best friends in the world. His name is Nate Hines. He's on the U.S. Paralympic team right now, and he grew up in a small town in Wisconsin. He ended up having cancer. He was on their high school football team. Came to campus, knew nothing about wheelchair basketball, kind of walking around with a limp. And the coach at that time was Tracy. And we got Nate involved, and we talked about intramural wheelchair basketball. And we always give Nate a hard time because he signed up for intramural wheelchair basketball his first year because he didn't know wheelchair basketball. And, you think it's easy, but we had some good teams. Like Nate's team did not win an intramural championship. So Nate is practicing every day at UW-Whitewater. And then we got these like able-bodied kids that come in and beat him at intramural. So we remind him that all the time to make sure he stays humble. Now, keep in mind, Nate's one of the best players in the country right now. So we got to try to keep him humble as much as we can. But you look at him, and honestly, he graduated with a degree in PE. He's got his master's degree. He's the athletic director for a school here in Wisconsin right now. And I like to think he would be successful any way you look at it. But wheelchair basketball has definitely played a role in his kind of rise to being an athletic director right now. And he's currently, working his way towards Tokyo. So we'll see some big things out of Nate Hines, already a gold medalist. And the stories like that are, there's a boatload of them.
So you found that the majority of the players who have participated in athletics have gone on and have gotten jobs and, are doing what they want to do in life, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And, some of the really cool stories, Nate was a great student during high school. He was a great student here, didn't necessarily struggle through getting his degree or some of those things. Well, some of the really great stories, honestly, are the kids that struggled. You get some bumps along the roads, you get some classes that you don't pass, and maybe there's a semester or a year that you're not eligible. And I think from a coaching standpoint, it's really easy to toss those kids aside and be like, it's not going to work out. But really, some of the most prideful stories for me are the ones that we stuck with those kids to say, listen, we're by your side. It's more than wheelchair basketball. It's about you getting this degree. So whether they were on the floor the entire time, whether they were an MVP, the fact that they, had wheelchair basketball as kind of that carrot dangling, the incentive to get through school and to kind of make their way through the challenges that life faces that had nothing to do with their disability. I think some of those are some of my favorite stories.
So you've stopped coaching for now. I mean, you're young, and so who knows what you'll do in the future. But so, what are you doing in your current role at the university?
Yeah, I'm no longer the head coach for UW-Whitewater. I will say I will always be I'm going to be #1 fan of this program. I'm going to be here to help run camps. As much as they want my help, I'll be down there helping with practice. Those open gym times, I'm going to try and scrimmage. I really just like being around wheelchair basketball. I think it's a lot of fun. So I'll always play some sort of role with the Warhawk Wheelchair Athletics program. It's just done so much for me. I want to pay it forward as much as I can. In terms of my personal life, I'm starting to pursue some different things. I started golfing. I'm enjoying some golf right now. It's opened up some free time for me a little bit. I enjoy hunting. I get out with my friends. We go hunt some birds. I like shooting sporting clays or trap. Like I said, I'm going to start playing some wheelchair lacrosse. So a little bit of free time, moving my priorities around a little bit has opened up an opportunity for me to probably be a little bit of a better husband too. So I'm trying to be better to my wife. Wheelchair basketball was all consuming at the Paralympic level and all consuming when I was coaching UW-Whitewater. So it opened up a little bit more free time for me.
You have to go back to school and go to the University of Arizona. They've started adapted golf there.
And Pete is one of my friends, so
Yeah.
we share some stories about it. So we've been going back and forth about golf, and I saw the University of Arizona adaptive golf outing that they do. A fantastic job. Arizona is awesome. It's definitely appealing.
It is amazing. So we're coming to the end of our interview. What are some final words that you'd like to leave people with?
I will say, and this is general, I teach a couple of classes on campus. My final word is honestly, when you get advantage of an opportunity, take advantage of it. When somebody asks you to volunteer, someone asks you to try something new, the worst case scenario is you find out you don't like that and you never do that thing again. The best case scenario is something that 100% changes your life. I think about some of our student assistants that we've had come through our program. There's some people that wanted to coach and they knew nothing about wheelchair basketball. And we talked them into coming, and a bunch of those kids are officiating wheelchair basketball now. Like that's what they do to make some money. Some of my kids, like they went on to coach other programs and men's teams and junior teams. I got a couple of neighbor girls that came and worked at wheelchair basketball camp, and I mean, changed their lives. They absolutely loved it. And all from an opportunity that you never knew was going to change your life. So the big thing for me is take advantage of opportunities when they're presented to you.
Great. Opie, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.